Welcome to Channel 9. In today's video, we'll dive into one of the most significant historical topics, the top 10 wars in history. These aren't just dates on a timeline. People, these are colossal clashes that echo through the ages, shaping nations and profoundly influencing the course of human history. From the trenches of the Western Front to the beaches of Normandy, from the ancient battlefields of the Crusades to the jungles of Vietnam, we'll explore the battles, the strategies, the technologies, and, perhaps most importantly, the human cost of these epic confrontations. So buckle up, get ready to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're about to embark on a journey through the annals of history that will leave you breathless. Let's get started. 1914. Europe, a continent brimming with empires and teetering on the precipice of self-destruction. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne in Sarajevo, lit the fuse to a powder keg that had been decades in the making, and just like that, the old world order went up in flames. Millions of men mobilized and thrown into a maelstrom of machine guns, artillery, and poison gas. The Western Front, a nightmarish landscape of trenches, mud, and death stretching for hundreds of miles. Verdun, the Somme, Passchendaele, names etched in infamy, synonymous with unimaginable slaughter. The Ottoman Empire crumbled, sowing the seeds for future conflicts in the Middle East. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, sought to bring a lasting peace, but instead sowed the seeds of resentment and instability that would ultimately lead to an even greater global conflict just 2 decades later. World War I, the war to end all wars, proved to be a tragic misnomer, its legacy a haunting reminder of the folly of mankind. If World War I was a tragedy, World War II was a nightmare of apocalyptic proportions. The rise of Nazi Germany, fueled by the poisonous ideology of National Socialism and the bitter resentment left in the wake of Versailles, plunged the world back into darkness. The Nazi war machine, a terrifying display of military might and ruthlessness, swept across Europe, crushing all opposition in its path. Poland, France, Denmark, Norway, one by one they fell, succumbing to the Blitzkrieg, a terrifying new form of warfare that combined speed, firepower, and overwhelming force. On the Eastern Front, a titanic struggle raged between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, a battle of ideologies and sheer brutality that would decide the fate of millions. The Holocaust, the systematic extermination of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime, stands as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity. The development and use of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki ushered in the atomic age, casting a long shadow over the post-war world and forever altering the calculus of warfare. In the end, after 6 long years of global conflict, the Allied powers emerged victorious, but at a staggering cost. Now let's turn back the clock, journey with me to the late Middle Ages, to a conflict so protracted, so deeply ingrained in the national psyches of its protagonists, that it earned the name the 100 Years' War. From 1337 to 1453, England and France, 2 kingdoms locked in a seemingly eternal struggle for dominance, clashed on the battlefields of France. Forget your notions of romantic chivalry, of knights in shining armor engaging in noble combat. The 100 Years' War was a brutal affair, characterized by sieges, chevauchés, devastating raids designed to break the enemy's will, and battles that often descended into bloody, chaotic melees. Edward III, the Black Prince, Henry V, English kings who won stunning victories on French soil. Joan of Arc, the peasant girl who rallied the French forces and turned the tide of the war, only to be burned at the stake as a heretic. The war saw the decline of feudalism, the rise of professional armies, and the increasing use of gunpowder weaponry, developments that would revolutionize warfare in the centuries to come. But perhaps its most enduring legacy was the forging of 2 distinct national identities, of English and French, that continue to shape the world today. Chapter 4. The 30 Years' War. Europe engulfed in religious flames. Fast forward now to the 17th century, a century marked by religious fervor, political intrigue, and a conflict so devastating that it ripped Europe apart, the 30 Years' War. From 1618 to 1648, the Holy Roman Empire, a patchwork of principalities and kingdoms, became a battleground for competing faiths and dynastic ambitions. Catholics versus Protestants, Habsburgs versus Bourbons. The lines were drawn, and Europe descended into a maelstrom of violence and religious zealotry. Gustavus Adolphus, the Lion of the North, a Swedish king who revolutionized military tactics and led the Protestant forces to victory, only to fall in battle himself. Albrecht von Wallenstein, the enigmatic and ruthless general who fought for both sides, a symbol of the shifting loyalties and mercenary nature of the conflict. The war ravaged the German states, leaving entire regions depopulated and economically devastated. The Peace of Westphalia, signed in 1648, finally brought an end to the carnage, but its legacy was profound. It redrew the map of Europe, established a new balance of power, and laid the foundation for the modern nation-state system. The rise and fall of an emperor. From the ashes of the French Revolution, Napoleon Bonaparte rose to power. The Napoleonic Wars from 1803 to 1815 marked his peak and downfall. Imagine the thunder of cannons at Austerlitz, the Grande Armée's march across Europe. Napoleon seemed invincible, his name whispered in awe and fear. But the disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812 marked a turning point. The Battle of Leipzig sealed his fate. Exiled to Elba, he returned for the 100 Days' War. Waterloo, synonymous with defeat and the end of an era. Chapter 6. The American Civil War, a Nation Divided. The American Civil War, fought from 1861 to 1865, pitted brother against brother, state against state. Imagine the tension, the palpable sense of dread, as the nation teetered on the brink of war. From the first shots at Fort Sumter to the surrender at Appomattox, the war was brutal and costly. Gettysburg, Antietam, Vicksburg, names etched in American memory. The abolition of slavery, enshrined in the 13th Amendment, marked a new chapter. Chapter 7. The Korean War, a forgotten war with lasting consequences. As the world emerged from World War II, a new conflict erupted. The Korean War. From 1950 to 1953, the Korean Peninsula became a battleground in a proxy war. North Korean troops, armed with Soviet tanks, crossed the 38th parallel, catching the South Korean and American forces off guard. The Korean War was brutal, with fierce fighting and mass casualties. The war ended in a stalemate, with the Korean Peninsula divided along the 38th parallel. The Korean War had a profound impact on the Cold War and American foreign policy. Chapter 8. The Vietnam War, a quagmire in Southeast Asia. As the Cold War intensified, another conflict erupted in Southeast Asia, a conflict that would become synonymous with the complexities and moral ambiguities of modern warfare, the Vietnam War. From 1955 to 1975, Vietnam, a nation divided by ideology and foreign interference, became a battleground in a protracted and bloody struggle between communist North Vietnam, supported by its allies, and the government of South Vietnam, backed by the United States. Imagine the dense jungles, the oppressive heat and humidity, the constant fear of enemy ambushes and booby traps. The Vietnam War was a guerrilla war unlike any other, fought in a treacherous terrain and against an enemy that was often indistinguishable from the civilian population. The Tet Offensive, the My Lai Massacre, the fall of Saigon events that seared themselves into the American consciousness, revealing the brutality of the conflict and the deep divisions it created both at home and abroad. The war divided American society, sparking massive protests and anti-war movements. The Vietnam War, a conflict that claimed millions of lives and left an indelible mark on both Vietnam and the United States, serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of war, the complexities of foreign intervention, and the enduring legacy of conflict on individuals, nations, and the world. Chapter 9. The Crusades, a clash of faiths in the Holy Land. Let's journey back in time once more, to the medieval era, to a series of religious wars that captured the imagination of Europe and left an enduring legacy on the relationship between the Christian West and the Islamic East, the Crusades. From 1095 to 1291, European Christians, responding to the call of Pope Urban II, embarked on a series of military campaigns to reclaim the Holy Land, particularly Jerusalem, from Muslim control. Imagine the fervor, the religious zeal that motivated these crusaders, many of whom were ordinary people who sold their possessions and left their homes to embark on a perilous journey to the east. The First Crusade, launched in 1095, saw a ragtag army of European crusaders capture Jerusalem in 1099, an event that sent shockwaves through the Muslim world. The Crusades were marked by both acts of incredible piety and shocking brutality, yet the Crusades also led to a cultural exchange between East and West, as European crusaders encountered new ideas, technologies, and ways of life. The Crusades, a complex and multifaceted series of conflicts, had a profound impact on the history of Europe and the Middle East. Chapter 10. The Spanish Civil War, a dress rehearsal for World War II. The Spanish Civil War, from 1936 to 1939, was a testing ground for new ideologies and military tactics. It pitted Republicans against nationalists led by General Francisco Franco. Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy supported Franco, while the Soviet Union and international brigades aided the Republicans. The bombing of Guernica symbolized the horrors of modern warfare. The war ended in 1939 with a nationalist victory, leading to Franco's dictatorship. Outro, Echoes of War, Reflections on Our Shared History. That's a look at the top 10 wars that shaped human history. From the trenches of World War I to the jungles of Vietnam, from the medieval battlefields of the Crusades to the ideological struggles of the Cold War, these conflicts have left an indelible mark on our world, shaping nations, toppling empires, and reminding us of the human capacity for both good and evil. As we reflect on these wars, let us remember the sacrifices made, the lives lost, and the lessons learned. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.